All right, guys, taking a look at the action today. Very interesting day. We'll go over the indexes first, some general market trends, and then get into a couple individual names that really have my attention right now. Taking a really close look at them. But to start off, we've got the Nasdaq, S&P. Don't love the action today. Pretty big wick on top of both the Nasdaq and the S&P today. Traditionally, this is a huge sell signal. If this happens in an individual name that I'm holding, I'm taking that as a huge red flag. But definitely some selling towards the end of the day today. Just taking a closer look at the NASDAQ today and some moving average is we're definitely trapped under the 21-day SMA for now. We had actually a really nice kiss off of the 21, definitely showing some resistance right now. We've been under there for the last, 3, 4 weeks. So definitely don't love that. Got to get above that before we can start moving higher. Taking a look at some more general market trends on the list that I keep an eye on. First of all, I keep track of the total number of names on my watch list, which is composed of names that have 20% or higher earnings, 20% or higher sales growth, and they're above the 200-day SMA. So I like to see this number expanding. I like to see more names above the 200-day, but it's been pretty steady over the last couple of weeks after dropping down during that initial sell-off. But 62% of those names were green or positive on the day. I'm also keeping track of net 50-day highs for this growth list. Net 50-day lows as well. Can see that the new lows definitely outpacing new highs today. That's been a trend over the last couple of weeks. Had a couple of days sprinkled in here and there, like on Monday and Friday, where that number was positive, but it's been primarily negative for the last couple of weeks. Number I like to keep track of here as well is the number of names appearing on my high volume growth list. So this is my growth names that are up, finishing positive on the day, and have over 1.5x relative volume. So 23 names is a pretty solid number here, actually. And between these four numbers, definitely getting a little bit of mixed signal here. 62% of the names finishing positive, 23 names showing some accumulation, moving up higher, but then, this net new highs to new lows number is still pretty negative here. So I think this is pretty indicative of the trend that we've seen over the last couple of weeks or so. But trying to read the tea leaves here, definitely seeing a little bit of mixed signals today. And then this number is something that I'm always tracking and keeping an eye on as well, just where we are in relation to the 20-day SMA, 2.34% below it right now. We got pretty close on Monday to reclaiming that, but couldn't quite close above. This number's been negative for a while now. We've been trapped under that 20-day SMA for the last couple of weeks. So definitely something to keep in mind. Taking a closer look at these names that were moving up on higher volume today, taking a look at those 24 names, what really stood out to me here is financials and healthcare. Ton of representation there. Almost 17 out of the 24 names coming out of financials and healthcare. So, seeing some buying in there, which was interesting. Financials have been hot, we know, over the last couple of weeks, holding up pretty well. But taking a look at this list, which is the top losers on my watch list, some really interesting action here that I actually didn't love. SMCI, we know how much this stock has been talked about. Great leader, the last few months. Obviously been taking a hit over the last couple of months, but down over 14% today. Big gap down. You've had a number of pretty significant gap downs over the last 2 months. A few really big red candles over the last 2 months. Don't love that action. Sweetgreen, another name, was flying high through March, down almost 12% today. Last 2 days it's been whacked pretty good. Over the last Week plus, it's been getting a little bit erratic here. Range definitely expanding. Put in a lower low today. Don't love that action. Block, another name that's had a lot of attention in the past. Pretty big gap down today, almost 9%. Even Vital Energy, which was a name, pretty hot name in a hot energy sector in the last couple of months or so, putting in a lower low here. Pretty significant red candle, big red candle yesterday as well. And then NVIDIA and Micron as well. I mean, we know how popular these stocks are, how meaningful semis are to the market, and definitely giving back some past gains today. So keeping a close eye on that. Then on the flip side, looking at the top gainers, some interesting action here as well. I mean, TMDX has been a name that's been talked about a ton on Twitter. Showed some great relative strength at the beginning of April. Gave back some gains in the middle of April, but really nice report today. Pretty significant volume, making a really nice move. WGS, another name. Really great continuation from yesterday's gap up. Closed at the top of the range both days. Massive volume yesterday. Really nice volume today as well. That's a really nice move. But taking a look at this list as a whole, these top 30 or so names, ton of representation from healthcare, a lot of biotech. So just noting this, observing this trend, and then moving on into some individual names. So LifeMD and Oscar Health definitely both have my attention here. Some pretty orderly cup patterns forming here. OSCR has been in this cup for a little bit longer, but some really nice buying in LifeMD in the middle of March there. Some pretty massive volume during these green candles, so like to see that. Both of these names essentially doubled in this run-up prior to these corrections. So we know these names can move and really get going and create a lot of gains. So definitely keeping an eye on this. Looks like we might be getting a little bit of a handle here, but if the market firms up, really liking these names in healthcare as a whole was really hot today, last couple of days. So definitely keeping an eye on these. Another name that I'm keeping a very close eye on is Coupang. Obviously, we all know how strong this action was middle of April, this gap up and some continuation when the market was a mess. So some incredible relative strength there. Nice volume on the gap up. Been giving back some gains over the last 4 days or so. Looks pretty orderly, pretty normal there in my opinion. But I am watching this very closely to see if this is going to give back those gains and potentially even fill that gap, or if this can hold. I think that'll be a nice leading indicator perhaps, and I'm very interested to see if this can hold these gains or if it'll give it all back. So keeping a close eye there, and then finishing up with just a couple observations on energy names. Spoke about Vital Energy on that top losers list today, but predominantly in the energy names across the board for me that I'm watching. Pretty red day. Definitely seeing some lower lows and some lower highs across a bunch of these names. So just noting this was a leading sector there for a little while, taking a little bit of a hit right now. So just noting that, maybe some rotation going on, but just have to be really selective right now. Be careful. But overall action today has definitely got me a little bit defensive, to be honest. I'm seeing some previous leaders taking a big hit. Seeing financials doing okay, healthcare doing okay, but all in all, not seeing a ton of opportunity. Seeing net new lows continue to increase. That new highs to new lows number is still net negative. NASDAQ still stuck below that 20-day SMA. So definitely pretty cautious right now, but keeping an open mind, trying to be as flexible as possible. Anything can happen, but we'll see what happens tomorrow.